Welcome to Maritime Pakistan, your gateway to the fascinating world of oceans and the opportunities they present to every one of us. We have explored naval warfare through the book Fleet Tactics and Coastal Combat. Today's video discusses the 12th chapter of the 3rd edition, A 21st Century Revolution. So, the book we're diving into is a pretty big deal when it comes to modern naval strategy. We're going to be breaking down a really critical chapter that gets into how technology and information are just completely changing the game when it comes to conflict at sea. All right, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll talk about the new rules of war. Then, we'll look at the incredible new tools in the 21st century arsenal. After that, we'll see how it all works in the real world. And finally, we'll talk about what it takes to be the next generation of warrior. Okay, let's jump right in. What exactly are we talking about when we say information warfare? You know, it's a term that gets thrown around a lot, but really understanding its definition is the key to everything else we're going to cover. When you boil it all down, information warfare is really a fight over who can make better decisions faster. It's all about making sure you can see the battlefield clearly and act on what you see, while at the same time making sure your opponent is blind, confused, and can't make a move. It's a battle of wits just as much as it is a battle of weapons. And you know, this idea isn't totally new. The first big revolution in information came with the invention of the radio, which let navies listen in on enemy messages. But today's revolution, it's happening in cyberspace. And that's a battlefield that is active 24/7, whether we're at peace or at war. The whole art of deception is laid out so well here. A strategist named Burton Whaley had this key insight. The best way to fool an enemy isn't just to lie to them. It's to figure out what they already expect to happen, reinforce that belief, and then do the complete opposite. It's an incredibly powerful tool that doesn't cost much but can give you a huge advantage. A perfect example of this in action was the Battle of Midway. You had Admiral Nimitz, who decided to trust the intelligence coming from his local codebreakers, even though it wasn't a sure thing. That one decision, made right there on the scene, allowed him to see the Japanese attack coming and set up a historic victory. It's just a powerful lesson in how valuable it is to have agile, trusted intelligence on the ground. So, we've kind of set the stage with the new rules of war. Now let's get into the good stuff, the 21st century arsenal. We're talking about the actual hardware and software that are defining this new battlefield. So when you think about a modern fleet, what picture comes to mind? Is it massive aircraft carriers? Well, it's not just about bigger ships and fancier missiles anymore. The real revolution is actually happening on a much, much smaller scale. We are absolutely living in the robotic age of warfare. Unmanned vehicles, drones in the air, robotic boats on the surface, and subs under the sea, they are changing everything. They're smaller, they're way cheaper, and you can deploy them in these massive, resilient swarms. They've become the new eyes and ears of the fleet. And of course, whenever you talk about robots, the next thing you have to talk about is artificial intelligence, right? Pop culture has kind of filled our heads with these nightmare scenarios of self-aware machines turning on humanity. But what's the actual reality for the military today? Well, the reality isn't man versus machine at all. It's man with machine. A human AI team is just way more powerful than either one is by itself. Think about it. The AI can crunch massive amounts of data in seconds, and the human provides the intuition, the judgment, and the final decision. It's really the best of both worlds. And the book uses this really powerful analogy to drive the point home. Human-machine teaming isn't just a small step up, it's a fundamental leap forward in what's possible, just as big as when the longbow replaced the spear or when the steam engine replaced sails. It's a total game changer. But here's the catch. All these amazing new capabilities also create brand new vulnerabilities. Modern militaries are completely reliant on space. We're talking satellites for communication, for navigation, for surveillance. They're absolutely critical. And that makes them a huge target. An enemy doesn't have to sink your ship if they can just blind it by taking out its eyes in orbit. Okay, so we've covered the theory, we've looked at the tools, now let's see how information warfare actually plays out in the real world, in everything from humanitarian missions to full-on combat. You know, information warfare isn't just for fighting wars. After huge disasters like the tsunami in Southeast Asia, military specialists can set up what are called hastily formed networks. These are basically pop-up communication grids that let all the different rescue teams coordinate in a really chaotic situation. They've saved countless lives. And when we get back to combat, you can see that IW completely transforms every single part of naval tactics. I mean, from scouting with drones to guiding missiles with GPS to using cyber decoys to confuse the enemy, information is now the central ingredient in absolutely everything. And that brings us to our last section. And honestly, it might be the most important one. With all this amazing advanced technology, what about the people? What about the humans who have to make it all work when the pressure is on? The source makes a really important distinction here between education and training. See, training is about learning how to use a specific system, how to push the buttons. But education is about understanding why you're pushing the buttons, so you can adapt when that system changes or when it breaks. And you absolutely need both, the skills for today and the critical thinking for tomorrow. And while simulators are great for training, we have to be really honest about their limits. One study found that casualty rates in actual combat were 7 times higher than in simulations. Why? Well, there's a huge psychological difference between getting embarrassed in a training exercise and getting killed in a real battle. So, how do you actually develop the right kind of talent for this new world? A young Navy lieutenant said it perfectly. The best people in cyber are innovators. They move fast. The job of the organization isn't to manage them in the traditional sense, but to get out of their way, to remove all the bureaucratic red tape that just slows down creativity. Which really leaves us with this final, thought-provoking question. As technology gets faster and machines get smarter, is it possible that the ultimate weapon isn't a piece of hardware anymore? Is it the one thing a machine can't replicate? The unlocked creative potential of an empowered human being. We hope that you liked today's video. Post your questions in the comment section for future videos.